Here in Concord, winners of New Hampshire primaries past have their names etched in granite, but on election night, the winners don't always have the most votes. Here now is WMUR political reporter John DeStacio to talk about the burden that comes with expectations.
Absolutely, Josh. Expectations are a big part of the primary and what happens after that. Take 1992, for example. Bill Clinton was in single digits in the polling leading up to the primary. He ended up finishing second to Paul Tsongas, but he did better than expected. He came downstairs at primary night, proclaimed himself the comeback kid, and many people to this day still feel that he was the one that actually won the primary because he beat expectations.
And here's that story. For more than half of its 100-year history, the New Hampshire primary has been a watershed moment in presidential campaigns by acting to narrow the field. Some candidates move on after strong showings. Those who underperform often head home. But what is a winner in New Hampshire? David Carney of Hancock is a Republican strategist who's been involved in 6 presidential primary campaigns and says getting the most votes doesn't necessarily mean you've won.
It's totally about perception, and campaigns try to manipulate that perception, and really the audience that sets the expectations is the media, how they report races.
We in New Hampshire.
Joe Grandmaison of Rye is a former New Hampshire Democratic primary chairman whose involvement in presidential campaigns started in 1972 when he witnessed part of the expectations game firsthand.
I listened to Frank Mankiewicz as he convinced George McGovern that McGovern should go downstairs to the ballroom and accept the victory.
McGovern convinced the media that he was the effective winner of the 72 primary despite losing to Ed Muskie, who had been predicted to win in a landslide. McGovern did go on to win the Democratic nomination.
You're just going to vote for me.
Bring it 20 years later, I decided that I thought that Clinton ought to do the same thing.
Whatever happens today, I'll never forget New Hampshire.
My recommendation to the campaign, I contacted them and harassed them with my suggestion that Clinton come down and claim the same thing at 5 minutes past 8, so the stations would go live and he would get the lead at that point in time.
To this day, many people still remember Clinton as the winner, although Paul Tsongas beat him. And while Clinton was declaring victory, drama was playing out on the Republican side, and Carney was right there in the middle of it.
We have shown it can be done.
He remembered it as the terrible night. President George H.W. Bush lost the New Hampshire primary by winning, beating insurgent Pat Buchanan by 15%. More damaging were the exit polls, some of which showed Bush barely leading Buchanan and others showing Buchanan slightly ahead.
It would look close during the day, and the reporters started to say, oh, well, it's a great defeat for the president, when in actuality, on election day when the votes were counted, Bush had won.
But the damage had been done.
It was like a big story, a big upset. The national reporters were all writing their stories and what a setback this was for Bush.
It brought back memories of 1968 when an upstart U.S. Senator, Eugene McCarthy of Minnesota, essentially ended the re-election hopes for President Lyndon Baines Johnson. Amid the backdrop of the Vietnam War, McCarthy won by losing to Johnson in New Hampshire 50 to 42%.
One of the reasons I think there's a tension between campaigns and the political media, because you win, but it's not a big enough win, and therefore you lost.
Two of the biggest names that really helped to shape the recent history of the New Hampshire primary were candidates who spent tireless hours working here in New Hampshire and really banked on success here. Bringing back in WMUR political reporter Adam Sexton, talking about Bill Clinton and John McCain.
Josh, they may have come from different parties, but the common thread uniting Clinton and McCain in the face of negative headlines or long odds, a relentless focus on New Hampshire voters and what mattered most to them.
The unthinkable had finally happened.
The whole state was devastated. We had been hit hard.
Nowhere is the situation worse than in New Hampshire.
The question is not when will things start getting better, but when will they stop getting worse?
The local coffee shop is now offering out-of-work customers the recession special.
Go up into East Derry and take a look at all the vacant property.
I've got over 150 resumes out and not got an answer yet.
What do? They say one thing, it's like watch my lips. And I mean, people are losing their homes.
I think that Bush just woke up a little bit too late, and I'm afraid it's going to hurt him, and if it does, that's all right with me.
We were looking for survival. We were looking for somebody with some answers.
Like John Kennedy did in 1960, Arkansas Governor Bill Clinton used Nashua City Hall as the place to kick off his New Hampshire presidential campaign, breaking free from news crews to take his Reclaim the American Dream campaign theme to the streets.
My message is that I have been governor for 11 years in a state that's been through every good and bad thing that's happened in this country. And I think I know what it takes to restore the middle class.
He never turned away from a person who wanted to shake his hand.
I was happy when we went to the first place in the polls, and I was
fairly young and naive at in those days, and the national advisors, including George Stephanopoulos and the pollsters, also, this is not a good thing, being first place in the polls, because that means everybody's going to come after us.
Yes, I was Bill Clinton's lover for 12 years.
Have you ever had an extramarital affair, Governor?
Well, if I had, I wouldn't tell you.
Accusing Republicans of leaking his Selective Service file, Clinton talked about the letter he wrote in 1969.
All I'm saying is that he signed a contract and did not honor it.
They wanted to talk trash, and he kept talking substance.
It was a very, very difficult time, culminating in probably the greatest speech ever given during the New Hampshire primary.
I'm going to give you this election back. And if you'll give it to me, I won't be like George Bush. I'll never forget who gave me a second chance, and I'll be there for you till the last dog dies. And I want you to remember.
We knew maybe we didn't have to be first. We just needed to be in the hunt.
While the evening is young, and we don't know yet what the final tally will be, I think we know enough to say with some certainty that New Hampshire tonight has made Bill Clinton the comeback kid.
The roar was incredible. We were delirious.
This was our candidate, and we were going to stick with him. The dog dies story goes two ways. You know, we stayed with him.
There's just nothing that can possibly compare to the 1999-2000 John McCain presidential campaign.
Welcome to New Hampshire.
McCain's name is not well known, but he believes there's lots of time and the pool of available activists is deep. Those who know him describe McCain as a man of integrity who may not lead the pack now, but very well could in the end.
McCain at that point was probably at about 2% in the polls, and Governor Bush had just swept the table with all of the Republican activists and most of the elected officials.
We knew first that the place we could go to have some success was with veterans.
We got good crowds almost immediately at the VFWs.
I run for President of the United States because I want to return our government back to whom it belongs, the people.
Ultimately, his signature event, of course, was the town hall meeting.
Town hall meetings have boosted John McCain from nowhere to running neck and neck with George W. Bush in New Hampshire.
He never lost faith that he could win, and I think that rubbed off on a lot of us.
The media says that character isn't important. Well, in New Hampshire, we're different. We say character is very important, and you have it, and we want you.
John McCain's image was approximately 75% favorable and single digit, 7 or 8 unfavorable, which is, I mean, I've never seen an image like it. You just don't get something that it's supernatural.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you, and God bless, and welcome to our 115th town hall meeting here in New Hampshire.
I'm prejudiced, obviously, because I was involved in it, but it was the sweetest of them all.
We started at 3%. Last July, we were 3%. Governor Bush was at 61, but people were willing to look at us and look at me and hear the message. And look, win or lose the rest of this campaign, the greatest political experience of my life is right here in New Hampshire.
There were no low points in 1999 and 2000. It was such a gradual increase, moving up in the polls 3 to 5% each month, to the point where he finished at 49%. There were no lows in that race, and in 2007 and 8, there were constant ups and downs.
Senator McCain won the 2000 New Hampshire primary going away, but he says that was before 9/11, before the war, and before he endorsed the president's controversial troop escalation plan.
He had more money than he had before. He had a huge staff in Washington. And they were sort of running him like he was the incumbent.
He got so far off track as a candidate that he started to plummet in the polls.
We went down to a one-state strategy and laid off over 300 staff.
It took him almost hitting rock bottom before he, to his credit, his idea, John McCain's idea, saying we need to go back to basics, we need to stop campaigning everywhere else except New Hampshire. and we need to bring the campaign to New Hampshire and make the case for the surge in Iraq.
Arriving a few minutes late on a commercial flight from Detroit, Senator John McCain almost blended in with the other passengers.
He just wouldn't quit.
Said, let's just do town hall meetings, 3 to 4 town hall meetings a day, which, as you might imagine, is exhausting.
I was skeptical about whether it was going to be effective or not, doing the No Surrender tour, but it worked.
I'm past the age when I can claim the noun kid, no matter what adjective precedes it. But tonight, we sure showed them what a comeback looks like.
I mean, I think he personified what we like to think of the New Hampshire primary as it should be.
I tell him now he's still my president, and a lot of people in New Hampshire feel that way that were involved with his campaign.
New Hampshire voters have been shaping presidential politics for 100 years.
We went for the gold, and we won it. And I'm very grateful.
Next, a look back at some of the iconic moments from the last century of the New Hampshire primary.